Good morning and welcome to my blog, Wisdom for Today. Because it's the third Tuesday of the month, today we're going to talk about a character from church history that formed the way that Christians operate today. And today I want to tell you about Hudson Taylor. Hudson Taylor had a magnificent role on Christians from Western Europe and the United States to reach out to people in China. Before he came along, very few missionaries traveled that way, and those who did had very little effect. Hudson Taylor was born to a father who was a chemist, but also a Methodist minister, and a mother who was a prayer warrior. And as a young child, he said that he wanted to go to China to be a missionary. But as he grew older, he saw that as a fantasy and kind of denied it. He got involved with some friends at school and decided to live just for himself and to make a lot of money. And in pursuit of that goal, he became a worker at a local bank. Now, in those days, banks lighted themselves, if you worked for a bank, by gas lights. And the gas light next to his work poisoned him. It gave him an eye ailment that he had for the rest of his life. To recover from that, he went home again and worked in his father's shop. And during that time, one afternoon when he was bored, he was looking through his father's library and found a gospel tract called "It is Finished." And he wondered to himself, what has been finished? And when he read the words, it's as if the gospel rang true for the first time in his life. And he found a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ and a renewed desire to go back to China. From that point on, he got medical training, which his father helped him with because he was already a chemist. And he went to China, but at the time he went to China, China was in the midst of a civil war between communism and imperialism. And Hudson Taylor was the victim of that war more than once. He often was mugged and had his supplies stolen, but he kept preaching and kept going from place to place. At the time of Hudson Taylor's death, it was said that he established 20 mission stations, and he had trained some 700 Chinese workers, and he brought 849 missionaries to the field. Now, why did he bring those missionaries over? Well, even though people came to faith while he was there, he had eventually baptized 50,000 people, and there was 125,000 people who claimed they had been led to faith through one of Hudson's sermons. He went to village, running from the two different warring parties, and in each place he went, he practiced medicine and led people to Christ. But his illness got to him, and by this time he had a wife and child, and he had to come back to England. But the missionary bug never left him. Hudson Taylor started to share with other young college students the need for people to go to China and to other parts of Asia to lead people to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Hudson Taylor's gift for evangelism continued even when he could not teach within the country that God had laid upon his heart. One of his statements that I love, that he says, that exemplifies his life, is depend on it. God's work is done in God's way, and it will never lack for God's supply. He's too wise of a God to frustrate his purposes for lack of funds, and he can just as easily supply them ahead of time or as afterwards, as much he prefers to do. You know, the reason I love that quote is one of the frustrations Hudson Taylor had on the mission field is that even though God had placed this mission on his heart, he hadn't placed it on many of the missionary board's heart. And he kept losing funding, once because of slander because of him, and once because people were thinking that God was working better in South America or in different parts of England. But Hudson Taylor stayed true to his mission until the day he died. And that's why, to this day, many people say that the Bible would not be an easy Mandarin in China if it wasn't for Hudson Taylor. It is finished was what led him to Christ, in Jesus Christ. And he finished the job that God gave him to do, even when no one else believed in it. I guess that's his message to us today. God's given us each a job to do, and our job is to take the next step. We don't know how big it'll be or how small it will be. Or if we don't know what the step is, we need to ask God, what is your vision for me? Because I want to serve you. And once God gives you that vision, you stick to it, no matter what anyone else says around you. Brothers and sisters, I pray that you have a great day today, and I hope to see you on church on Sunday. God's blessings, and have a wonderful day.